I'm starting off by saying why. Why are we doing anything about the environment? This is a picture. I don't know if anyone recognises this. Victoria Falls in Zambia. The local name is Mosi Oa Tunya, the smoke that thunders. Can you press the button, so to speak? Well, this was it in 2019, and I had the good fortune with Christian Aid to go to Zambia to look at their project work in action. And you can see there, it certainly wasn't thundering on those days. In fact, it's approximately 2 years ago today. Africa at that time had been suffering drought for well over a year with hardly any rain. And it was obvious to me at that point that that is why we must take action now. We can't wait any longer. Can you press the button again? At Christian Aid, as you know, we've been campaigning on many issues for over 70 years now. But in more recent years, approximately 20 years, I think it is, we've come to agree or to see that climate justice is one of the biggest issues that is facing the world. And we believe that as poverty is a scandal, another world is possible, but it's only possible if we address the issues of climate change. So next slide. And what I'm going to talk to you today is about some of the things that you can do as part of campaigning on climate justice. Wildfires, flooding, extreme heat waves have made it obvious that climate crisis has arrived, and it's arrived with us as well. We're not immune, but millions of people around the world have been experiencing its most devastating impacts for years, despite having done very little to cause it in the first place. Our climate justice campaign is a petition to the Prime Minister asking him to ensure that the UK fulfills its responsibilities and its promises to build back better. It calls on the Prime Minister to increase financial support to the world's poorest countries and to push for their debts to be cancelled. It asks him to invest in the green recovery and that leaves no one behind. And it asks him to stop the expansion of fossil fuel energy and support clean energy. Well, we're not doing too well on that one, as he's just seeming to announce possibly a new coal field and new oil fields in the North Sea. So we've still got a lot of campaigning to do there. So if you can sign up on our website to support us on that, that would be great. Coronavirus has disrupted our lives in an unprecedented way, and we now face a choice. We can go back to business as usual, perpetuating the climate crisis and growing inequalities, or we can take positive steps to build justice after the pandemic and work towards a healthier, safer future for everybody. This year, the government has some crucial opportunities to do the right thing. Next slide. This year, the government is hosting the United Nations climate talks, COP26. Some say it's our last chance, our only hope to take decisive action on the climate to prevent catastrophe. The most affected communities have high hopes that world leaders are actually going to, this year, take the ambitious action that is needed to deliver real progress. So from now on, every prayer, every action, and every step towards climate justice matters. The government must use its role as the host of the United Nations Climate Summit to increase financial support to the world's poorest countries and to push for their debts to be cancelled, to invest in a green recovery and to stop the expansion of fossil fuels. And the way that we can do that, we see, is to send a prayer vote to the COP26. Is it possible to get that slide back up a second? Or do you only go forward? Right, thanks. The Young Christian Climate Network have been mentioned. They're carrying a model boat on their pilgrimage from Cornwall to Glasgow, which represents our hopes to set sail towards a more just future. Taking inspiration from their boat, we're asking you to create a prayer boat of your own. Together with your church, you can display your votes as a focus for prayer. You can add them to our online fleet. You can use them to advocate for climate justice with MPs, and you can send them to COP26. And you can download the instructions on how to make a boat, if you're not used to origami, that is, from our website. Your prayer boats will join thousands of others in Glasgow and help us to make sure that decision makers cannot ignore our calls for action. Next slide. Together with the Young Christian Climate Network, we're on a pilgrimage for climate justice. We'll count up all the prayers and actions taken in support of the pilgrimage and deliver them to decision makers in Glasgow. We'll pledge your prayers in support, and so we ask you to join us in praying for firstly the safe passage of the YCCN volunteers as they take part in the relay. We ask you to pray for the impact climate crisis is currently having on vulnerable communities, and also for the willingness of decision makers to listen to our calls for climate justice and to make real and bold commitments to change at the COP26. If you want to engage and motivate your church, perhaps you might like to run a film watch night. Christian Aid has bought the screening license for 2021 for a film, Thank You for the Rain, which is captured through the lens of his own camera and shows the story of Kisulu Musia, who is a smallholder farmer in Kenya. When his family and village experienced the devastating effects of human costs on the global climate crisis, he transformed himself into a community leader and to an activist, and traveled on his own motorbike to the World Conference on the Climate to share his story with them. Also, you could consider running your own workshops and conferences, or you can start debates in your own area and get people to start talking about the crisis. Next slide. Christian Aid is part of the Climate Coalition. We know that when we join together, we make a big impact. We made history during lockdown 2020, when the first ever virtual event as a lobby of Parliament took place, and I was there on the day. We built on the success of the biggest lobby, which was held the year before in 2019, when we all travelled down to London to meet with the MPs. And now we're coming together to tell politicians that the time is now to put a greener economy at the top of their agenda. So on the 6th of November, there is a global day of action when the UK government is hosting the UN climate talks. World leaders will be gathered in Glasgow and everyone will be there, and we will be pushing them to make the bold decisions that are needed. It's a crucial moment in the fight for climate justice, and a unique opportunity for us to pressure those with power to make real change. Change won't happen unless we demand it. Of course, there are other groups who are campaigning for climate action. Tear Fund is doing a lot. Green Christian, who have been mentioned, I'm also a member of that. And Operation Noah also have been very active in getting action taken on climate. And did you know that Extinction Rebellion has its own Christian arm, Christian Climate Action, which I'm a member of as well, which was actually active before Extinction Rebellion was formed, and now works with them in conjunction with Extinction Rebellion. Although not active within Extinction Rebellion, Christian Aid does have campaign resources which can be downloaded for teachers covering such areas as the school strikes. Also, they have input on toilet twinning and bin twinning. Next slide, please. And there have been a lot of successes on climate. Christian Aid supporting churches and individuals have played a big role in the Climate Change Act being enshrined into law in 2009 through their lobbying, marching and advocating. The UK net zero goal target, which has been announced, again, 10 years after the Climate Change Act, churches and Christians were a part of pushing the UK government to take that action. Getting the UK to stop funding fossil fuels overseas Young Christians joined in the call to push for the end of UK finance for fossil fuel projects. And they announced that change of policy in 2020. And also HSBC have stopped funding new coal projects because of pressure from churches across the UK. In addition to this, a host of UK churches and denominations have divested. All of those changes require ordinary Christians to speak up and make their voice heard at a local and a national level. Influencing happens everywhere, even if you don't think of it that way. A simple motion to the PCC or a vote passed by your church leaders to declare a climate emergency is a moment of influencing and a winning change. More general wins that the Christian churches have played a role in are the debt cancellation, mainstreaming of fair trade, and the financial transparency laws. Next slide, please. Thanks. So, if you would like to join with Christian Aid to take action, but are not sure where to start, then our resources can be downloaded through our website. If you go to www.christianaid.org.uk, and then the rest of it, which I think you can read on the top there, I hope, then you can use those to learn more about running a campaign action, how to get more people involved, learn how to work with your local politician, and find out how to support one of our campaigns if you wish to, or even to start your own. Last slide, please. So, in closing, this year's Christian Aid Week appeal featured Rose, who is suffering from the effects of the climate crisis. Rainfall in Kenya has become so erratic in recent years that life has become a real struggle for those who rely on rains for their harvest. These are the people who have done the least damage to the environment, but like so many others, they are the ones who are paying the price for our luxurious lifestyles. It's time we took action. We can no longer afford to look the other way whilst our neighbours suffer. Thank you.